Three people, same $300 a month, same index fund, same 10% historical average return. The only difference between them is a single number, the age they were standing at when they finally pressed start. By the time all three of them turn 65, that one number will be worth more than $2 million. Not because of luck, not because of a better strategy, not because two of them worked harder than the third, just because of when they began. This is that story told in three parallel lives that all happen to share the same calendar. Here's why a single decade matters this much before we walk through it. Compounding isn't addition, it's multiplication happening quietly over and over on top of itself. In the first few years, a dollar invested and a dollar spent look almost identical because the growth on top of that dollar is still tiny. But every year that dollar sits there, it's not just earning a return on the money you put in, it's earning a return on all the previous returns too. That's the part intuition misses. A 10-year head start doesn't just mean 10 extra years of contributions. It means 10 extra years where the earlier money has already been multiplying quietly in the background so that by the time the second person starts, the first person's money is no longer growing in a straight line at all. It's climbing a curve that keeps getting steeper. That's the entire reason three people can put in a similar looking monthly amount and walk away with wildly different results. Not because the math changed, because the clock started at a different hour. You're 20, broke mostly in the ordinary way 20-year-olds are broke. First real paycheck, first apartment that's actually yours, first month where saving anything at all feels like a small miracle. You open a brokerage account almost on a whim, put $300 into a total market index fund and set it to repeat automatically every month, whether you remember it or not. It doesn't feel like a decision. It feels like nothing. You forget about it almost immediately, which turns out to be exactly the point. Somewhere else, at the exact same moment, two other versions of this same story haven't started yet. One of them is also 20, spending the same way most 20-year-olds spend, with no particular plan and no particular guilt about it. The other is 10 years further down the road already, still a decade away from thinking about any of this at all. All three of you are living through the same years, the same news, the same market, completely unaware of each other. You're 25. 5 years of that $300 a month is sitting quietly in an account you rarely check. The balance is $22,968. You've put in $18,000 of it yourself. The other $4,968 showed up on its own. It's not a huge number, and you know it. It's not supposed to be yet. You're 30, 10 years in now. The balance is $59,959 on $36,000 of your own contributions. This is also the year your friend from college, same graduating class, same starting salary, same everything on paper, finally starts paying attention to money for the first time. She opens an account of her own, puts in the same $300 a month, and feels genuinely proud of herself for finally getting serious about her future. She's not wrong to feel that way. She's just starting the clock 10 years later than you did. On a page of the story, you're already 10 years into. You're 35. Your balance is $119,533, built from $54,000 in contributions. Your friend, 5 years into her own version of this, is sitting at $22,968, the exact number you had at 25. She's exactly where you were a decade ago on the same $300 a month, doing everything right. The gap between you isn't a mistake either of you made. It's just the shape of the same decision made 10 years apart. You're 40. The balance is $215,478 on $72,000 contributed. This is also the year a third friend from that same old group, the one who spent his 20s and 30s telling himself he'd get serious about it eventually, finally opens his own account. He's not lazy and he's not bad with money. He just kept waiting for a moment that felt more ready than the one before it, the way almost everyone does, until 20 years quietly disappeared underneath a string of perfectly reasonable excuses. A wedding one year, a new job the next, a kid after that, 100 smaller reasons that each made sense on its own. What finally moves him isn't a single dramatic event. It's a birthday, an ordinary Tuesday, and a passing thought that the version of him at 65 is going to be someone he actually has to live as, not just a hypothetical. Same $300 a month, same fun, same 10% historical average, starting today instead of some better day that was never actually coming. You're 45. Your balance is $369,997 on $90,000 in contributions. For the first time, the market has produced more money than you've personally put in. Your college friend, now 15 years into her own account, holds $119,533. Again, exactly your number from 10 years earlier. And your other friend, 5 years into his, is sitting at $22,968. The same starting line number every single one of you passes through on your way to somewhere else. 3 completely different account balances, the exact same underlying math running on 3 different clocks. You're 50. The balance is $618,853 on $108,000 contributed. Your friend who started at 30 is 20 years in now, holding $215,478, your number from age 40. Your friend who started at 40 is 10 years in, holding $59,959, your number from age 30. None of you are behind. You're all exactly on schedule. It's just that your schedule started at different addresses. Here's the part almost nobody sits down and actually calculates. For your friend who started at 30 to end up in the same place you will at 65, she doesn't need to invest the same $300 a month you did. She needs roughly $796 a month, almost 3 times as much for every year she has left. Just to close a 10-year head start she can't get back with money alone. Your friend who started at 40 needs even more, about $2,193 a month, over 7 times your amount, to land in the same place at 65 that your $300 got you to just by starting earlier. Time was never a variable you could buy back later at the original price. Its price only ever goes up the longer you wait. You're 55. Your balance crosses $1 million and $1,019,637 on $126,000 contributed. Your friend who started at 30 hits your 45-year-old number, $369,997. Your friend who started at 40 is finally at your 35-year-old number, $119,533. The market drops hard that same year across all 3 accounts at once. A real ugly correction, the kind where every financial headline is written to make sitting still feel irresponsible, where the anchors on television start using words like crash and collapse within the first 10 seconds of every broadcast. All 3 of you watch your balances fall by nearly a fifth in a matter of weeks. Your college friend calls you, half panicked, asking if this is the moment to finally move everything into cash before it gets worse. You tell her the same thing you want someone to have told you the first time this happened to you years earlier. The drop only becomes a loss the moment you sell into it. None of you sell. Not because any of you feel especially brave, because by this point, doing nothing has simply become the most familiar move in the entire process, worn smooth by every previous downturn that came before it. 8 months later, all 3 accounts sit above where they were before the drop, in the same proportion they always have, 10 years apart on the same staircase. You're 60. Your balance is $1,665,104 on $144,000 total. Your college friend, 30 years into her own account now, holds $618,853, your 50-year-old number. Your other friend, 20 years in, holds $215,478 at your 40-year-old number. The math hasn't changed for any of you. It's the same formula it's always been. It just keeps landing on a different page, depending on which chapter each of you is standing in. You're 65. Retirement, or at least the age most people associate with the word. Your balance is $2,704,636. You contributed $162,000 of your own money across 45 years, about $9 a day, most days you never thought twice about. The other $2,542,636 was never yours to earn. It belonged to time, and you simply let time keep the account running long enough for the difference to become almost impossible to describe as anything but strange. Your college friend, 35 years into her account, holds $1,019,637, contributed $126,000. She did everything correctly. She was consistent for over 3 decades without a single missed month. Her only real mistake, if it's fair to even call it that, was believing at 20 that 30 was still early enough. It was early. It just wasn't as early as the version of her that started at 20 would have been. Your other friend, 25 years in, holds $369,997 on $90,000 contributed. He also did everything right every single month without fail for a quarter century. His outcome is smaller not because he was careless with money in his 40s and 50s. He wasn't. But because of 2 decades that happened before he ever opened the account at all, 2 decades that no amount of later discipline could fully purchase back. None of you did anything wrong after you started. That's the part worth sitting with. This was never a story about who worked harder, who was smarter with money, or who deserved more. All 3 of you made the exact same monthly decision with the exact same discipline in the exact same market. The only variable that ever separated a $2.7 million outcome from a $370,000 outcome was a single number none of you can ever go back and edit: the age you were standing at the day you actually pressed start. One honest note before we get to what actually matters for you watching this: the 10% figure used throughout this video is a nominal historical average. It doesn't subtract inflation, and no year of real investing looks like a smooth, guaranteed line upward. Some decades run hotter than that average, some run colder, and taxes and fees will always take a real bite out of whatever the raw number says. None of that changes the underlying lesson about time versus amount. The same gap between starting at 20 and starting at 40 shows up whether the average is 10% or something more conservative. But it's worth hearing plainly rather than glossing over. If any of this feels discouraging because your own starting line already came and went, here's the part that actually matters more than the numbers on the screen. The math in this video assumes all 3 people used the exact same monthly amount the entire way through, because that's what makes the comparison honest. Nobody said that's your only option. Someone starting at 40 doesn't have to match the 20-year-old's $300 a month. They can choose to invest more of what they earn now, specifically because they have fewer years left for compounding to do the work on its own. That's not a loophole or a trick. It's simply trading the one thing you can't buy back, time, for the one thing you sometimes can adjust, the amount. It won't fully close a 20-year gap. Nothing does that painlessly. But the gap between doing that and doing nothing at all is still enormous. And it's the gap that's actually available to you starting today, regardless of which chapter of this story you're currently standing in. If you're 20 right now, this is the version of the story where $300 a month feels almost pointless, small enough to ignore. And it is exactly that feeling of pointlessness that makes it the cheapest year you'll ever be able to buy. If you're 30, the math still works. It just costs more than it used to, and it will keep costing more with every year you wait past this one. If you're 40 or 50 and none of the earlier chapters apply to you anymore, the number that matters isn't the one on this screen showing what you missed. It's the one still available today on whatever amount you can actually commit to for however many years you have left starting right now, because the version of you at the end of that road is still worth building on whatever timeline is honestly left to build it on. The account never asked any of them to be exceptional. It never checked what any of them earned, where they grew up, or whether they felt ready the morning they finally opened it. It only ever asked them to start and then to get out of its way long enough to stop thinking about it. 3 friends, one number apart at the beginning, over $2 million apart by the end, and not one moment in 30 or 40 years where any of them made a single decision the others didn't also make. Same discipline, same fun, same market, good years and bad years alike. The math was always identical for all 3 of them, and only the starting line ever moved. And the starting line, unlike almost everything else in this story, was the one thing every single one of them was completely free to choose the moment they were ready to.